Welcome to Worthwhile Watches. I'm Rob. As you can probably tell, I'm not really a very formal person, and dressing up is a rare event for me. As a result, I don't have a whole lot of dressy watches in my collection, but there is one that has always caught my attention: the Oris Big Crown Pointer Date. The authentically vintage styling in a reliable and modern package is just too much for me to resist. This one is the 38mm Cervo Volante model, and after owning this watch for a while, there are two things that I really like about it, and two things that I don't like so much. But we'll also discuss some possible solutions for those things. So let's get into it. I want to start right away with the first thing I really like about this watch: the dial. It's an interesting, deep, rich shade of green. It's a lighter shade in the middle, transitioning to a darker green starting at the railroad track minute markers. The shadows cast by the domed crystal give the dial color a gradient-like effect. The dial is simple but well proportioned, with vintage-inspired Arabic numerals at each hour. These numerals may appear ordinary at a glance, but that number 4 is quite unique and is actually one of my favorite details about this watch. That curved 4 helps give this dial a distinctive, stylish charisma that I appreciate every time I wear this watch. Although the 31 numbers along the edge of the dial add a bit of busyness, the pointer date function is also an important part of this watch's unique charm, and I like a bit of well-balanced busyness to add visual interest. This dial is just beautiful to look at, precisely printed, unique, and functional, and is definitely one of my favorite aspects of this watch. The domed sapphire crystal is also quite interesting because it rises at a pretty steep angle and then flattens out in the center. This causes somewhat extreme distortion where the crystal transitions, but the numeral distortion is pretty minimal. It's totally clear and legible in normal use, but has some interesting effects and reflections when viewed at more extreme angles. On to some specs. This is a 38mm model. The Big Crown Pointer Date also comes in 40mm and 36mm versions. I measure the case at about 37.5mm. I measure the lug-to-lug at about 45.3, and the thickness at 12.5mm, including the domed crystal, which adds quite a bit of height. The lug width is 19mm. That big crown is 7.3mm in diameter according to my calipers. The weight as supplied is just over 61 grams. The second thing I really like about this watch is the pointer date complication. The pointer date mechanism is quite unique and an effective and simple way to incorporate a date function while maintaining dial symmetry and legibility. As a pilot watch, legibility is extremely important. Putting the date function along the outer edge keeps the dial free of distractions and clutter. I personally really appreciate having a date function, and I'm usually willing to sacrifice a little symmetry or even lose a numeral to have a date complication. But with the Big Crown Pointer Date, no such sacrifice is necessary. The case is 316L stainless steel and is very nicely finished. The top of the lugs are vertically brushed, and the rest of the case is polished. The metal finishing is all done to a high standard, and the fine coin edge bezel adds visual interest, while calling back to its pilot watch history. The case has a graceful downward curve, which helps the case hug the wrist comfortably. The angle of the lugs and bezel leads seamlessly into the domed crystal, forming an arch-like curve that helps the watch wear thin and unobtrusively on the wrist. It wears thinner than the 12.5mm total height would suggest. The proportions of the case and lugs, lightweight, and thin, gently curved case make for an elegant and comfortable wearing experience. the leather strap that's supplied with this watch is made by Cervo Volante, a Swiss company that produces sustainable deer leather goods. The strap is 19 millimeters at the lugs and tapers to 15 millimeters at the polished Oris branded buckle. It has quick-release spring bars, so changing out the strap is fast and easy. The strap appears to be well made, but is a slightly lighter shade than I expected based on the website photos. The watch also comes with a matching Cervo Volante leather watch pouch and card wallet. These extras are very nice, and the pouch could make for a good travel case, but I'm not sure how much use I'll actually get out of these extra items. The wallet is really just a small card holder and is nowhere near large enough to be my main wallet. And while traveling, I usually take a case with room for at least 3 watches. As for the leather strap, I've actually been wearing this watch on a darker brown Horween strap instead. I find the green dial looks a bit better on a darker colored strap. This actually leads me into the first thing I don't like so much about this watch: the lack of bracelet options. As far as I know, Oris doesn't offer a metal bracelet at all for their 38mm Big Crown pointer date cases. And I don't know of any aftermarket bracelets that fit this case. If you do know of an aftermarket bracelet option for this 38mm case, please let me know in the comments. The 19mm lug width is also a bit of a shame as far as wide compatibility with straps, but I'm not really a hater on 19 or 21mm lug widths. These days there are quite a lot of 19mm strap options easily available to order online. I really like the strap I'm currently using, which I ordered from Amazon, but it's always nice to have more options and compatibility with commonly available straps that you may already have. As far as a solution to the lack of a bracelet, it's always possible that Strapcode, Uncle Straps, or some other third-party manufacturer could produce a bracelet specifically for this model. Or if you don't mind straight end links, there are 19mm bracelets available that would fit, though those wouldn't look seamlessly integrated. Anyway, this is a minor complaint really. I just like to have a metal bracelet option for my watches. The Oris Big Crown does have quite a big crown, at almost 7.5 millimeters. This crown does have a nice grippy texture that makes operation nice and easy, and would have been a very nice feature for pilots wearing gloves. Setting the time and the date is smooth and satisfying. Inside this watch is the Oris Caliber 754, which is based on a Swiss Sellita SW200 movement. It's an automatic movement with a 38-hour power reserve, a 28,800 vibration per hour beat rate, hacking, hand winding, and pointer date function. This is quite an attractive movement to look at through the exhibition caseback. Speaking of the caseback, I did test the caseback crystal and it is not sapphire. The website lists the caseback as mineral glass. It's not really a big deal, but sapphire would have been nice considering the asking price of this watch. This movement is pretty nicely finished, with an Oris branded red rotor and some gold gears and a purple jewel adding some pops of color. Sure, it's not a high-end showpiece, but it looks good. The polished outer ring of the caseback is etched with watch information, including what might be a bit of a disappointing water resistance rating of 50 meters. But I find that plenty sufficient for this watch. 100 meters would be nice, of course, but being a dressy pilot watch, 50 meters is more than enough for me. Being more of a dressy watch, I wasn't expecting spectacular lume performance, but let's see how it did in a 20-minute lume test. It starts out quite strong, with the hands, hour markers, and numerals all glowing brightly. But the numerals fade quite quickly. After about 7 minutes, the numerals are pretty much gone. By the end of 20 minutes, the hands are still glowing quite well, but the hour markers are getting pretty dim, but they are still visible. Overall, this lume isn't that great. It's okay when transitioning from a bright to a dark environment, but don't expect it to last through the night. So this brings me to the second thing I don't really like about this watch: the price. Oris does make very nice watches in Switzerland with good quality and attention to detail, but I'm not sure I'm seeing enough here to justify the asking price of $2,500. Yes, it comes with some nice leather goods, which probably add a few $100s to the price tag, considering that the lowest retail priced Big Crown pointer date is currently $2,100, I believe. Considering it uses a modified Sellita SW200 movement, a mineral crystal display caseback, only has 50 meters of water resistance, and no metal bracelet option at all, $2,500 seems a bit steep to me, especially when comparing what else is available in this price range, such as the 39mm Hanhart 417 mechanical chronograph, which is actually less expensive. Grand Seiko quartz watches also start in this price range. You could even take your pick of a new Tudor 1926 dress watch in 36, 39, or 41mm on a steel bracelet, each for several $100s less than this Oris. I will say, I didn't pay anything close to the asking retail price for this watch. It can be found for significantly less if you're willing to purchase used or from an unofficial dealer. I'd say if you can find it for 40% off retail, it starts to look like a much better value. Another solution to the price issue could be to look into a homage. I'll be doing a review and comparison of a homage pretty soon, so be sure to subscribe if you're interested in seeing that. Having said all that, I really do like this watch, but in my opinion, diminishing returns start to kick in pretty hard for brand name Swiss watches in this price range, and much of what you begin to pay for is brand name, advertising, marketing budgets, rather than noticeably better materials, craftsmanship, or performance. But this Oris is beautiful to look at and a joy to wear, so I won't complain too much, especially since there are still bargains to be found on this and similar watches. But what do you think of the Big Crown pointer date? Are they overpriced? Or am I asking too much, or just being stingy? Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying my videos. It really helps me grow this channel. And until next time, whatever you have on your wrist, make your day worthwhile.